Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I might have your attention. Welcome back to the afternoon session, and I hope you enjoyed your lunch, suitably refreshed, and we're ready to go again. Our first pair of speakers this afternoon are Pat Lucey. Pat is the director of John SISK & Son Holdings, with responsibilities specifically for civil engineering in Ireland and the UK. Pat is, of course, very well known in the civil engineering industry, worked in the industry for over 30 years, spent the last 22 years as a key member of the civil engineering team at SISK. He's been involved in a number of major projects during the time, including the M50 Second Liffey Valley Bridge, M7 Health Mayfield project, the M8, N8 Culla Hill to Cashel Improvement Scheme, and a number of other major projects. Pat is also currently the president of the Civil Engineering Contractors Association and is a vice president of the Construction Industry Federation. We also have Noel Curtis, also from SISK. Noel has over 15 years experience in the construction industry and has been involved in many notable projects, again both in the UK and Ireland. While working for Balfour Beatty in the UK, he oversaw the construction of structures on the M25 widening project around Heathrow Airport. On joining John SISK & Son in 2005, he used his experience to successfully deliver the structures package on the M6 Cashel to Mitchelstown Road. Noel returned to Ireland last year after some time working in the UK for SISK and to take the helm of SISK on the N17, N18 Gort to Tuam PPP scheme in Galway, which is currently ramping up. So the lads will be presenting on. Pat initially will give us an overview of the civil engineering industry in Ireland, followed by Noel, who will give us a specific report on progress he's making with the new road scheme from Gort to Tuam. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This session is divided between a review of civil engineering in Ireland today and an update on the construction of a major new road in this region, the N17, N18 Gort to Tuam motorway. I suspect that this audience is more interested in the N17, so I will speak first and I'll be followed by my colleague Noel, who will give you the update on the new project. It was heartening to hear in the news yesterday morning that CAO applications for construction-related courses are on the up, although in the same bulletin, civil engineering productivity is down for the first month since September. Hopefully this is just a blip because we've had some major schemes finishing and some other schemes like the N17 are not yet in full swing. Civil engineering relies to a large extent on infrastructure projects, and those projects are dependent on government revenues. Those revenues depend on economic activity, which in turn is heavily stimulated by improved infrastructure. It's the classic conundrum for the civil engineering industry. In Ireland, we have a very competent civil engineering sector, which has developed in parallel with the progress of the country. Each time a recession hits, civil engineering contractors are affected disproportionately. However, this latest recession saw more Irish contractors than ever before in a position to move outside the country and compete internationally. The competence and capability to deliver major infrastructure developed through the delivery of projects in this country was a key element in the success. To understand where we are today and to appreciate what further progress can be made, let's just look at some of the key drivers for the industry. The key drivers I will focus on are vision, planning, and execution. If we look back to the early civil engineering achievements of our young state, one in particular sticks out. The Shannon hydroelectric scheme and the construction of Ardnacrusher power station. Opened in 1929, in today's terms, this was a scheme of crossrail proportions. 8 million tonnes of material excavated during construction, 1.2 million cubic metres of rock blasted and removed. It generated huge employment during construction, and the completed project played a pivotal role in the development of our nation. The vision came from a young Irish engineer, Thomas Anthony McLaughlin, who had the technical capacity combined with the drive and initiative to gain the support of his employer, Siemens, and to convince the politicians of the day. Where did we get the courage, 5 years after the founding of the state, to embark on such a large construction scheme? It wasn't without debate. Other schemes were proposed as well. How were we able, in 1925, to get through the debate, overcome doubts, and move with confidence to provide infrastructure that was key to the building of a young nation? I'll come back to that point later on. This project generated huge public interest, with people travelling from all over the country to view the works. It was estimated that 250,000 people were guided through the works during construction. In 1925, the expertise had to be imported. Specialist equipment had to be imported. Locally, we had the raw materials and the labour force. The vast majority of the workforce was Irish, but the controlling minds were experienced international personnel. We have come a long way from Ardnacrusha. For a similar project today, the majority of the plant and equipment would be provided by Irish civil engineering companies, and most of the construction team would be local. The journey to this point has at times been slow, but it has also been relentless. Let's look at that journey. Only in recent decades have we begun to plan on a national basis how to address the deficits and the future needs of our infrastructure. The country had suffered for many years from lack of investment in road, rail, water, wastewater, etc. It's hard to believe that road fatalities in the 1970s were close to 600 per annum. In 2012, there were 162 fatalities. In 2013, there were 190 fatalities. The reduction wasn't all down to engineering and construction, but it did play a significant part. That job isn't finished. More improvements are possible. Before we had a national development plan, improvements in the road network were piecemeal, one-off projects dealing with congestion hotspots. The vision to see beyond the immediate infrastructure needs was not a national priority. Nevertheless, the projects that were carried out allowed the organic growth of the civil engineering industry. Joint ventures with international partners were used where appropriate. Through these joint ventures, the national industry continued to learn and the competency continued to grow. There were, however, some examples of localised visionary planning. A land use and transportation study was produced in the late 1970s for the Greater Cork area. It was a 25-year plan for the growth of transport and land use. The cornerstone of the plan was the proposed downstream crossing of the River Lee. This is the crossing we now know as the Jack Lynch Tunnel. The Lutz report was the combined effort of the relevant statutory authorities. After publication, a high-level technical steering committee lobbied for this future vision of the Cork area. The timing was right, and the plan fed into the National Development Plan of 1989 to 1993. Not everything was achieved, but the principal elements were implemented. This is a further example of drive and commitment to achieve a far-reaching vision. The Jack Lynch Tunnel was the first immersed tube tunnel constructed in Ireland. Completed in 1999, it was another milestone in the development of civil engineering in Ireland today. The 20-year duration from concept to completion is typical for major infrastructure works. The Jack Lynch Tunnel benefited from the availability of EU funding. It would not have been in a position to apply for those funds if the planning process had not commenced years in advance. This brings to mind the term shovel-ready projects. Every time a recession draws to a close, there is a demand for shovel-ready projects to kickstart the economy. The process that has to be followed to bring a project to the stage that construction can commence quickly requires careful planning. For those of you with the ambition of a career in politics, please remember, when you achieve that ambition, that shovel-ready can be achieved, but it needs vision and planning. The formation of the National Roads Authority was a milestone for progressing the infrastructure that is our road network. National development plans were produced, priorities were established, and the focus was very much on achieving the NDP targets. The NRA recognised that improvements could be made to the execution model, and by that I mean the procurement and construction of their projects. Traditional build-only, design and build, public-private partnerships and early contractor involvement were all utilised to deliver the roads programme. The NRA consulted with the CECA when developing new models of procurement and construction. That collaborative approach brought many step changes in procurement, which were adopted seamlessly by the industry. The benefits of a national plan are clearly demonstrated by the road network constructed during the Celtic Tiger era. The NRA plan was to focus on the MIAs, the 5 major interurban motorways connecting Dublin with Belfast, Galway, Limerick, Cork and Waterford. The M50 was also completed, as was the Dublin Port Tunnel. When the NDP plan for 2000 to 2006 was published, some senior politicians expressed concern that the Irish civil engineering industry would not have the capacity to deliver the plan. As they have always done, the civil engineering contractors rose to the challenge, and most of this work was carried out by CECA members with specialist international contractors as required. The benefits that we are all experiencing surpassed most expectations. The roads are safer, journey times are more reliable, driver fatigue is reduced, there is less wear and tear on road vehicles. During the construction of this network, our civil engineering industry achieved world-class performance, building roads and bridges more efficiently and economically than other European countries. This capability allowed our contractors and designers to compete successfully in other markets when affected by the recent recession. Working in any new market is a learning experience, and our civil engineering industry has learned from working overseas in recent years. By the industry, of course, I mean the people, and the people have benefited from the wider experience and continued their professional development, without necessarily changing employer, at a time when the home market was stagnant. As the home market improves, opportunities are generated for staff to return, and therefore the industry, as it now stands, retains the competence for the safe delivery of quality infrastructure. This rising tide also provides opportunities for graduates. This is a CSO graph of civil engineering production from 2006 to 2013. This is a comparative value index using 2010 as the base year. As you can see, production was at its lowest in 2011 and has been rising since. If we had a graph covering the last 30 years, it would show the cyclical nature of civil engineering, which is inextricably linked to overall national economic production. As the CSO graph indicated, the civil engineering sector is recovering slowly. The skilled workforce is gradually returning to meet the demand, and the capability to deliver economically and efficiently still exists. There are projects in the pipeline that can be brought to the market quickly if there is a positive decision to invest. In 1925, we were able to overcome doubts and invest in a project that changed the country. The vision present for that project and others is sometimes missing. Maybe we don't always see the many positive benefits from investing in infrastructure. Take employment, for example. This graph shows the unemployment figures in Ireland since 1998, and serves to demonstrate the negative effect that the recent recession had on employment levels in virtually every sector of the Irish economy. Within the construction industry alone, the numbers in employment fell by 60%. In the last number of years, this situation has improved, and the most recent figures put unemployment levels at their lowest since 2009 at 10.1%. While the figures are finally heading in the right direction, they are still significantly higher than the 2000 to 2007 figures of less than 5%. In order to create employment within the civil engineering industry and the construction industry in general, significant investment is required. There is, however, a return on that investment for the public purse over and above the value of the infrastructure created. This slide demonstrates the effect that the investment of €1 billion has on job creation in the various different sectors of the construction industry. The graph shows the direct jobs created, that's the numbers actually employed on the project, that's in blue. The indirect jobs created, the jobs in the supply chain, and in the red, that's the cumulative of that and the direct. And the induced jobs created, employment generated in the economy as a whole as a result of increases in direct and indirect jobs, employees spending their money. In simple terms, depending on the project, for every 100 to 130,000 euros certified to a contractor, one job for a year is created, either directly on the project or in the immediate supply chain. The investment in a capital project has a far-reaching effect and can prove a significant boost to the economy of an area, in addition to the benefits of a completed project at the end of construction. There is wide agreement on this, and many industry organisations have published recommendations for investment in construction that will further stimulate the wider economy. This slide represents some of the main clients within the construction industry in Ireland. It is not meant to be exhaustive, so apologies to anyone that is missing. Each of these clients operate independently of each other, with different methods of procurement and contract models. While the GCC contract is widely used, bespoke contracts are also common. A number, such as ESB, ESBI, Irish Water, and Irish Rail, use frameworks of varying values in order to shortlist contractors who then tender for projects as they become available. Large-scale projects are often tendered outside these frameworks. I have mentioned the NRA already and the benefits we all experience from their recent programme of work. The ESB are also worthy of a special mention. Since the rural electrification that followed the construction of Ardnacrusha, the ESB has gone on to develop many of the major civil engineering projects in this country. Poulafuca in Wicklow, 1938, North Wall in Dublin, 1947, Kathleen's Fall in Donegal, 1950, Marina in Cork, 1954, Inniscarra Dam in Cork, 1957, Turlock Hill in Wicklow, 1968, Poolbeg, 1971, Ahada, 1980, Moneypoint, 1985. The list goes on and on. The civil engineering industry is certainly indebted to the ESB for all of these challenging projects. Despite the progress made in improving our infrastructure, there is still much to be done. To achieve the target of 4,000 megawatts of wind energy by 2020, another 1,000 megawatts needs to be brought online. The NRA have 12 major projects with planning and another 6 going through the planning process. Irish Rail are looking to respond to the improved road travel times by reducing the Dublin-Cork rail journey to under 2 hours and the Dublin-Belfast rail journey to under 90 minutes. The much talked about Phoenix Park Tunnel will be upgraded for passenger trains, and the business case for the Dart Underground is being updated. Dart Underground is an exceptional scheme that will bring huge benefits to the capital. Irish Water is looking to spend 400 million euros each year for the next 3 years, and many of our ports have major plans for upgrade works. So the future should be bright if we have the vision to push ahead with these improvements. With the knowledge, experience and skills developed over the recession period in new international markets, the civil engineering sector in Ireland is ideally poised to deliver greater innovation, efficiency, cost certainty and a higher standard of product than ever before. It is vitally important that all of the parties involved in the delivery of a construction project, from the concept stage through planning, procurement, design and construction and operational phases, all work together. This will allow the industry to grow to ensure that the needs of our improving economy can be met in a sustainable manner. Greater collaboration between clients and contractors has always been rewarded with success. For those of you that are coming to the end of your studies, your timing is pretty good. We do see a recovery and the job opportunities that go with that. The bravery of our decision makers will dictate the level of investment. Hopefully, we will see some 1925 visionary leadership that will push ahead with the current pipeline of projects and commence the planning for the future. The capital spending programme is due shortly. Let's see what that brings. Irish civil engineering companies are now working internationally, and as a final message to forthcoming graduates, don't be afraid to travel with your work. It's a good experience. Thank you.